Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rachak Kodash. The belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there, you Akim to Sadakim, that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. On the priest Shimon. This week's topic is going to be quick. Just going on the highway. We're here to prepare the way for the Lord. You know, it's in ancient customs. Pretty much when the king was arriving in town or what have you, all right, you have to clear the path, you know, move the stones, all these sorts of things for that king's return. You know, we're doing that spiritually, and then pretty much the missiles are going to do it physically. You know, this is the book of Isaiah 40:3. It says, the voice of the Lord, the voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our power. So the voice of him crying in the wilderness, this all starts with John the Baptist. You know, anytime, you know, before the coming of the Lord, there's one main person that starts the preparation or starts the preparing the way, and that is the spirit of John the Baptist, Elijah. In our time, that was Abba Bivens, all right? Sort of like this main prophet that comes. Oh, also Samuel, all right? This main prophet that comes and ushers in the way for the other prophets and start to break down these prophecies and break down these understandings. And that's how you are, you know, preparing the way for the Lord spiritually. You know, we always use this term, what? Stumbling block, all right? A stumbling block is a hindrance or something, an obstacle in the way, all right? We have to come in and destroy those stumbling blocks, all right, before the Lord returns, all right? The proper breakdown of the tribes, all right? The understanding of the Israelite faunas, the mark of the beast, all right? Who's who according to prophecy, all right? The end time wars, how that's going to play out. That's us clearing the path so when the Lord comes back, everyone will have the opportunity, all right, to hear the true path to walk in, you see? It says, for every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall be made straight. So again, this is describing a path being cleared out, all right? But again, on the spiritual tip, all right, that's tearing down these crazy doctrines and giving the proper understanding, all right, of this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. It says, and the rough places plain, okay, making the path very easy, all right? That's what you do, all right, when royalty is coming through, all right? That's what something that was done in the ancient world, and that's what the prophets would do. The prophets would liken particular customs and traditions, all right, that was upheld at the time, all right, and then have a spiritual sort of metaphor to it, you know, a spiritual comparison to it, you know. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 62 verse 10. It says, go through the gates, prepare ye the way of the people. It says, cast up. So we're preparing the way for the people, right? It says of the people, it says cast up the highway, right? Get rid of the stones, get rid of all the stumbling blocks, all right? Gather out the stones. See, gather out the stones, what we call stumbling blocks, man, all right? When we get the proper understanding on the scriptures, starting with the apostles and elders, all right, we're getting rid of all the stumbling blocks, getting rid of all the stones. Now, you have to be a member of the elect to really, you know, walk this path, you know, because at the end of the day, we could tear up all the stones, but there's certain things that the Lord don't open your eyes to it, it'll be a perpetual stumbling block, you know. It's 2025 and you got guys that still can't understand the whole Israelite fauna thing, all right? Still can't understand that the mark of the beast is RFID microchip. That's a perpetual stumbling block onto them, all right? But for the ones that are meant to receive it, all right, we've paved the way. We're paving the way, and you're able to receive that, you know? It says the highway, it says gather out so like here. It says cast up the highway, gather out the stones, lift up a standard for the people. Behold, the Lord hath proclaimed unto the end. It says, behold, the Lord hath proclaimed unto the end of the world. Say ye to the daughters of Zion, behold, thy salvation cometh. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. Right. So Let me read it again. It says, behold, thy salvation cometh, Yahweh Shah. All right, that's literally what his names mean. He's a deliverer. All right, he's going to bring salvation. It says, cometh, behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. Right, and his work before him. Okay. This is the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 1. It says, behold, I will send my messenger. All right, who's that messenger? Again, it always starts with the same spirit. All right. Back then it was John the Baptist. Our time, Abba Bivens, right? He really started, again, paving the way, preparing the way, breaking down certain things for us to understand. All right. You can't break down every single stone. It's not a one-man job. You see what I'm saying? You can't just pave the whole way by yourself. So there's certain understandings, major prophecies that was opened up to Abba Bivens, all right? And then as time progressed, you had other men that came in that labor, all right, to help pave out the way and remove more stumbling blocks, all right? It says, behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me, and the Lord whom ye seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant. The messenger of the covenant, yet again, Yahweh Shai, man, all right? John the Baptist preparing the way. Abba Bivens preparing the way. It says, whom ye delight in, behold, he shall come, saith the Lord of hosts. And speaking of which, that's another major stumbling block, right? Reincarnation. You see, there's a lot of things we teach now, and I could say for myself personally, I didn't know about. I didn't know reincarnation was in the scriptures, but again, the prophets paving the way, paving the understanding of how the scriptures are set up. You know, so when certain things are broken down, all right, it's a clear path. You see what I'm saying? Because you have the understanding. Yeah, reincarnation is a big thing. The hell doctrine, you know, understanding that there's no hell, understanding that everybody goes to heaven. You see? The different types of heaven referred to in the scriptures. The importance of learning the Hebrew language. This is all doing things to clear the path, all right? Clear the path of understanding. It says, but who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appeareth? Right, only the elect is going to make it through. For he is like a refiner. What's a refiner? It's like for he is like a refiner's fire. You know, the Lord said that John the Baptist baptized you with water, but I'm going to baptize you with fire, being on trials and affliction. And those trials and afflictions, again, is compared like unto fire. Us being gold and silver, Lord willing. You know what I'm saying? Because fire applied to wood, stubble, and hay, it burns it. It chaffs out, it goes out. But when you apply it to precious metals, all right, it only refines it. It makes it more pure. Scriptures in the book of Proverbs, the 25th chapter, I believe the fourth verse, it says, take away the dross from the silver, and they shall come forth a vessel for the refiner. Right, and the dross represents the wickedness. Right, the other metals and shit that you don't want, all right, is the same sort of wickedness when we get them purged. See, it says, but who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like a fuller's soap. See, again, cleansing agent. All right, those are both different forms of cleansing agent. And again, going back to John the Baptist and the Lord, all right, you know, the first death was the world was baptized by water. All right, the second death that coming, all right, the Lord is going to bring fire, all right, to baptize the world or cleanse the world. Now, again, going back to the whole stones and the path being cleared for Yahweh Shah. This is the book of Revelations, the 16th chapter and 12th verse. Because remember, I said the missiles are also going to clear out the path. All right, get rid of all these rulerships, all this wickedness in the planet Earth. All right. Again, with fire from the chariots. This is the book of Revelations, the 16th chapter and the 12th verse. It says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. You see that? So again, that was just something the scriptures are alluding to, again, into clearing out the path. But literally, when the missiles drop, there's going to be a lot of seas and these sorts of things dried up. The world is going to look completely different. Just like how the world looked completely different, it was terraformed after the earth, after the flood. Same thing is going to happen with these missiles. Certain lands dried up, different paths created. You know, scriptures tell you that America is going to be a kingdom for these desert-like creatures and these different birds or what have you. How's that going to happen? All right, because there's going to be certain land masses and things dried up to create a path for them to walk over here, man. America is going to be the only desert in the kingdom. See? So I hope you brothers are edified. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashim Chakodash, that belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there, you Akim, to Sadakim, that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. Shalom.